Greetings and much love to each and every one of you, wherever you are in this beautiful, beautiful world, and going through all of the challenges that are sitting at every corner of the way. We get up in the morning, we face a new day, we face new situations, and we do our best to make the most out of it and hopefully end the day on a pleasant note. And I'm glad that we're starting this week together, Togetherness Media, and we are discussing flow, as we have been discussing for a while, and different aspects of how this flow or this magical energy, power, force inside of us allows us to be creative, allows us to be efficient, allows us to be positive, and we need to learn how to manage it, because any force, any energy requires some sort of a stability, some sort of a ride on it, so we can do the best on this wave of information, wave of situation or conditions. So these situations and conditions, in the words that we've been using, is environment. We all have these physical, mental, emotional, relational, and recreational capabilities that they come together, and we've been discussing them. And if you haven't heard them, please do not hesitate to go to the archives at togethernessmedia.com. Under flow, we have started putting all of the flow sections together, and you can make a good program for yourself out of it by reviewing it. And today we're continuing with environmental flow, which we started in the last conversation, how important it is to look at the macro and the micro effects of environment on us. On macro, we meant how the universe, how the world, how the environment, which is nature, and the ways that this globe is turning, and the conditions with weather, with climate changes, with all of the effects that we get from all of these natural disasters or natural gifts, how they affect us. And then we have the microenvironment, which is how we manage our habitat, our workplace, and our surrounding. And today I want to go into details of both of these areas as it relates to each person, and how every one of us is required to understand a certain way of managing or balancing the environment. I want to give you an example of a car. Imagine that as a human being, we were a car, okay? So our body is the chassis of the car, and the engine in it, and all of these other parts that the car has. The computer, or the driving part of it, with the intelligence part of the driving, is our brain, and how we're functioning in this body, and we manage the situation. And then the environment is the combination of this driver and the car on the road, how this road can have bumps, can have conditions of rain or snow, or very hot sunshine, and how we can function within these conditions. Also, now sitting in the driver's seat, we also have the environmental element of inside of the car, the temperature, the conditions, our mental state when we're driving, our stress levels, however that we are seeing ourselves, the issues that we have at home, and now we're bringing to this car and while we're driving. So you can see that there is a lot riding with the car, not only the physicality of the car, but the driver and the conditions that this driver is driving under, both externally and internally. So when we're discussing the environmental flow, we're discussing both of these aspects, which is the outside of the car and inside of the car and under the hood. And in order to make a very clear understanding of it, let's divide our personal life into three different areas. One is how we live in nature, how we take care of Mother Earth, how clean we are, we in regards with not polluting it, how we respect the growth of trees and shrubs, and or gardening it. How do we take care of this in a natural way? And then the other part of it is how we manage our home and how we manage our workplace. These two are the most times that we spend. Out of every 24 hours, a good probably 20 hours of it, 18 hours of it is going to be between our work and our home. Very few hours are generally spent outside of the house or the work. Even if we are working inside of the house, still, the work element is something that we need to be concerned with. So let's break it down into our home first, because today I have brought you a lot of different detailed information in regards with managing, in regards with driving this vehicle into this world and creating the best outcomes possible. So if we want to start from the connection that we have with our environment, both in the house and at work, in regards with how it also affects the bigger environment, the macro environment, that requires a certain activity, a certain caretaking that we can cover a few of those points. So let's say conserving energy is a very important factor. Energy is accessible to us in most places at most times. However, how we're utilizing it, how much of this energy we really need to use, instead of making it more wasted by overutilizing it and going through more resources to create this kind of energy. That would be really important, wouldn't you think so? So we need to be very conscious of, any kind of energy that we're using. If we are, for example, comfortable on a temperature of 74, what if we can make it 76 and still be okay with it and save from the overuse of the air conditioning system? Or in the winter time, how we can set it to a colder temperature yet be okay and utilize the heater less? Or just the lights in our rooms, how often do we need to leave them on, and how often we can just turn them off behind us and go. Very little things have great effects because each one of us counts. And when we together, collectively, we are doing these little things, imagine what kind of an impact we have on this globe. The second one is conserving water. Let's say you're brushing your teeth. Generally, we just have the water running while we're doing it for the few minutes that we're doing it. But what if we could just close it, wash, rinse, and go? Or rinsing dishes. Do we need to have the water consistently on and open and then we do those things? Or swimming pool, how much water we need to just over pour into it without really any results of just utilizing the pool at a certain time. So there are very limited things that we can do with water. However, whatever we do is good enough. Conserving water is really important, especially because that's our source of life, just like oxygen is in the air. The third one that I want to talk about is using products that are made of matter. In other words, instead of having any kind of dyes in them or preservatives or any kind of man-made stimulants or man-made structures inside of them, how can we utilize things in more natural way, in their authentic way, rather than the ingredients that are artificial? That would be very important, because as we're using all of these artificial elements, we are adding to the garbage and the pollution and all of the other extras that this world probably wouldn't need. The other point is, let's say, filtering your water. We all drink a lot of bottled water every day. What if we could have just one of those Bretta's jars, or just kind of any kind of filter on our kitchen's tab, and utilizing water that is filtered rather than just buying a lot of bottles and just throwing away. Recycling our food waste is another way to manage this, because we have a lot of food that gets wasted. What if we could just give this to certain organizations, people, that they can use it? What if we can compact all the waste and make some sort of a plant food out of it, which is possible, and you can just put it under the roots of any plant that you're planting. So there are ways that we can utilize the wastage of the food also by utilizing it in different ways. And planting vegetables and having some sort of a outcome from the earth is really important, because by planting we give more care to earth and how we are processing these food without much waste. Recycling and using things. Let's say if you have a bucket that comes with an ice cream, so if this bucket is useful for your gardening and you can take it to your backyard and either plant something in it, or use it for water, or use for carrying, in any use, imagine that would save the earth from having more stuff being made which is not really necessary, and then we can utilize some of those that are already there. Picking up litter along the way. When we see garbage, in the morning, sometimes when I take short run or I go on a kayak, I see some amazing people, and I wish I would do as good as they do, taking all of these derbies, garbage from their way from the water, and it's really, really amazing when I see that, and that motivates me, and I've started doing that also, because it makes a lot of sense. We cannot allow filth be around us and then imagine that something good is going to come out of it. So let's be more considerate of our environment's cleanliness. And also using shopping bags, all of these paper bags. I'm glad that in California, at least, there were some initiations about using your own bags rather than getting all of these paper. You pay a few cents and people still do. However, that's a very good idea for saving some, plants from being burned, cut down, from all more filth and garbage being around. So that would be really helpful. The other part of our conversation, which we would like to pay attention to, these were just general, but at our home, what is important? How we can have this flow, environmental flow at our homes, at our living places. And the first thing that we want to pay attention to is our comfort level. If you're not comfortable, if you feel miserable, if you feel not good enough in any habitat, definitely a lot of worse things are going to happen, because when you're uncomfortable, you start reacting. And we have been talking about reactions forever, how our midbrain or mammalian brain is a reactive brain, and instead of just being really thoughtful, when we are under stress, when we are under pressure, when we are experiencing pain, we become reactive. So when we're not comfortable, the stress level and the discomfort goes higher. Our worries get more. So in order to reduce the worries and stressors, we need to have an environment at home and at work that is really conducive to our comfort, peace, relaxation, and a good time. One of the ways that we can make this place more comfortable is cutting all the clutter that is around us. Some of us, not all of us, have tendencies of accumulating stuff around us. Just I do that myself. So we just have a bunch of stuff that we may not be even using, and it's around us on our table, in the corner of our rooms, without paying much attention. We're accumulating all of these, which doesn't make the place more comfortable. Maybe emotionally we feel comfortable holding on to stuff, but then it has other effects that we are not really going to be happy with, because the visual and the spacious comfort is going to be diminished. Delighting your senses is really important because we want to have a good taste in where we are. We want to make sure that where we're sitting in our surrounding, we can see beautiful things. We can entice our senses. We can pay attention to other things beside the work or the stress that we're handling. So imagine if around you have a painting or a vase or some pictures of loved ones. Those are really good and important to have aesthetically around us. Another element that helps a lot is bringing nature inside. So by bringing nature inside, let's say if you have a fish tank, or if you have a very special plant that you have in the corner of your room, or even having, a pet, that would be the same, because now we have some sort of nature included in our habitat, included in our environment, which gives us a different energy of life, because we are bringing a different form of life into our space. Reducing noise pollution is really important also. Sometimes there is a lot of sounds behind us, the humming of a light, for example, or the AC, or anything else that is just creating a sound from electric source, or any movement in the other room. If we pay attention to all of those, we see that they really create more stress and discomfort. So it's our responsibility to reduce these. If you have to wear a headphone and play some tunes or musics that would be soothing, or if any other natural sounds could be played in the background to mask that noise, that would be very helpful. But eliminating that noise, it would be the first choice if it's possible. Gardening and having a garden is also a very huge help, because as creators, we feel good when we are creating something positive, when we're creating something fruitful. So a garden is a very good representation of cultivating more growth and more happiness. So if you work in a garden, even if you don't have a big yard, or if you have a balcony and you just get one of those big pots that you can plant something, it would be a really nice thing. Also, in some neighborhoods, there are some gardens that you can rent a part of it, or you pay small fees to just go there and garden. That would be really helpful to you, both from your emotional state and the environmental aesthetics state. And don't forget, you can do all of these things very gradually and small. You don't have to do everything together. Any little thing that you can do is helpful. So do not be overburdened with that perfectionism. I have to do this and I have to do that. Do it as much as you can, but do it. Don't ignore it. Don't just put it on the side. Make sure that you're paying attention to it. And the other thing that's really, really important, and I save that for the last in this part, is your inside environment, your feelings, how you are seeing yourself in any environment. Are you hopeful, or are you disappointed? Are you anxious and nervous, or are you relaxed and content? All of those are your internal environment, which is emotional. And that emotional outside and emotional inside, if they go against each other, or if one from outside irritates the inside one, imagine what would happen. It just escalates to a lot of chaos and a lot of unhappiness and more reactions. However, if there is any negativity inside of us, and we can create a positive environment, naturally this anxiety or tension will be dissipating and being less, and that would make us happier. And even if you're happy and then you have a happy environment or a positive environment, then imagine what happens. You're fully growing into a better place, a better perspective. Well, the other area that is really important, as I said, it's the other half of most of the time that we spend, is our work environment. I have the privilege of going to some companies and working with their staff and employers, and just understanding the environment of this work. And in my experience, the moment that I make some suggestions and they taken, you can see that productivity increases. Let me give you an example. When you go to a company and this company is very dry, everything is so generic and cold, the performance of the employees may be okay, but it's not motivated enough. They don't feel like they own this work, and they work for themselves. However, the moment that we turn this into a more suitable, more soothing, more desirable environment by adding some plants and creating a space that there is a, say, water feature rolling down the wall, or just adding some beautiful pictures of nature, you can see that the energy level of these employees is shifting to a higher gear, and they start being more interested. Now, if you add a couple of more things, at their break times, they have a space to go and sit and meditate, or just have, a space to have a nice cup of tea or coffee at some point. These are little things that they don't cost much, but they create a better environment for our employees and the employer to enjoy the benefits of this place. The other things that really is important in workplace is the light. If you don't have enough light or too much light, that would be stressors on the person. As I said, in the home environment, noise is another factor that is really important. So for that reason, if you're in your cubicle or in your office and still there are noises that coming and disturbing you, you need to make sure that you are wearing some sort of a hair piece, earring piece, or something, a headphone or something that you could just be listening to, or just playing something in the background, which is not disturbing other people, but at least it doesn't take your mind off of your work and to somebody else. Having water and snacks, 6 to 8 cups of water a day at work is really important, because you need to hydrate yourself, and also have some snacks with you, because a mind that is hungry, it's not going to be a focused mind. A hungry mind reacts also, and it's not comfortable and is not giving you the best results. So you need to be mindful of your physicality at work, which we can segue into your position that you're sitting. A lot of this time that we are in the workplace is in many situations behind the desk. So if you are able to get one of those standing desks, that would be really good. If you have to sit down, then you want to make sure that the chair that you have is ergonomically designed and is not bothering your lower back. Your spine is supported. So you would like to make sure that your posture is preserved. In my office, I have a few different seats, but then I have one of these balls, the balancing balls that I sit on. There are a lot of questions. Is it better than the chair, or the chair is better? I think you got to utilize all of them and just see what's comfortable and what's least hurtful to your posture, and whatever that works for you, make sure that you maintain that, and it's not going to be something that is short term and then in the long term you forget about it and you're not supporting your posture. Scheduling events is going to be very important in that environmental happiness, because if you are organized, if you know what steps you're taking, all of these issues are going to be much easier to deal with. So, which takes us to how much of a screen time you have at, behind your computer. How glary is the surface of your computer screen. The way that you sit and you look at your computer, if you're putting your head down or you're looking straight. These are all important factors in that aspects of your work environment, which you need to be comfortable the most while you're working and not losing attention. Another factor that's really important is the temperature. If you are in a room that is too hot or too cold, it is very difficult to focus on what you're doing. Also, if you have some apps open, like your Facebook is open or other apps are open, please make sure that when you're working, those are not distracting you. Those are not taking your mind away to something else. In your work time, you need to just focus on work, but I really recommend that you take breaks very often, and in these breaks, you just get up and you stretch yourself and you sit back, or if every 20 minutes, you can just take your eyes off of your computer, look at a distant position for 20 seconds and do some breathing, from your nose into your belly and out from your mouth, and recenter yourself. And that would make you more inducive to having best performance. As you know, the conversation that we continuously running is about balance. So if you are bringing balance into your environment, everything is going to work out. If you're interested to learn more about balance or balancing, my book Balancing the Wheel has all of these elements inside of it, and you're more than welcome to take a look at the book either on Amazon, or you can just listen to it on the audiobooks.com. It's a 9-hour of conversation recorded with a lot of exercises. And at Willow Wellbeing, myself and Coach Bonnie, my wife, we have established this center to just induce more balance. As you're aware of it, everything we do is aligned with creating more possibilities for equilibrium, for balancing, for being in harmony and peace with ourselves and with our surrounding, having boundaries, that these boundaries are not only protective, they're also open at the same time to receive information and give information. If you can utilize any of this information, or if you have any questions about how to become more balanced, this is our specialty, and would love to give you all of the answers that you require. On Instagram, you can reach out Dr. Daniel Sadigh, both in Farsi and English, and we have 2 different pages. And personally, you can always contact me 323-997-9001 to get your information. I'm glad to be here with you and blessed to give you as much as I know I'm aware of in order to bring more balance to our world, to our societies, to our communities, to our families, and to every individual. Keep balancing yourself day in and day out, and we'll be here with you shortly in a couple of days to just give you another episode of The Flow. Have a blessed day.